I was chatting with a friend the other day, and she was staring at a countertop mixer on Amazon, wondering if it was really worth the cash she'd have to drop. She told me she'd gotten sick of fighting the whisk on her old hand mixer every time she tried to make a batch of pizza dough for the kids. "Do I really need a whole new machine?" she asked, half laughing and half serious. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. It's a classic moment for anyone who's ever stood in the kitchen, looked at a recipe that calls for a stand mixer, and thought, maybe I'm better off just buying a cheap one and hoping it survives the week. That hesitation is exactly what I wanted to unpack. A countertop planetary mixer sits in a sweet spot between a cheap handheld whisk and a professional floor standing unit. It promises you the power to knead dough, whip meringues, and fold batter without having to stand over a bowl for 30 minutes. But the market is crowded, the price tags vary wildly, and a misfit can end up as a pricey paperweight. The Globe Food Equipment SP08 tries to hit that middle ground with an 8-quart stainless steel bowl, 3 speed settings, and a set of basic attachments. Let's see if it lives up to the promise for the everyday baker. First, who actually benefits from this size of bowl? An 8-quart capacity means you can throw a full loaf of sourdough, a batch of cinnamon rolls, or even a party-sized cake batter into the mix without worrying about overflow. If you're the kind of person who bakes twice a week, maybe makes a big batch of cookie dough to freeze, or runs a small weekend catering gig, that extra volume is a real time saver. You won't be constantly stopping to scrape the sides or run the mixer for 20 minutes straight. The planetary action, that little orbiting motion that the mixer does, ensures the ingredients get to every corner of the bowl, which is a huge plus for dense doughs. I've seen home bakers post videos where the dough is so uniformly mixed that they can skip the rest and fold step entirely. On the flip side, if you only whip up a single batch of cupcakes on Saturday mornings, that bowl might feel like a kitchen hog. You'll have to clear a decent chunk of counter space, and the unit itself weighs enough that you'll think twice before moving it around. The SP08 isn't a tilt-head model, so you can't just tip the bowl back to dump the contents. You'll need to use the built-in release lever. That's fine for regular users, but a casual baker who wants quick cleanup might find it a minor annoyance. Now let's talk about the motor. Globe lists it as powerful, and in practice, 3 speed settings give you enough flexibility to handle everything from a gentle fold of egg whites to a robust knead of rye dough. The low speed is perfect for incorporating flour without splattering, the medium hits that sweet spot for cake batter, and the high speed tackles the heavy lifting when you're really trying to develop gluten. I've read a handful of forum threads where people say the motor holds up well for a few hours of continuous mixing, which is reassuring if you plan to do big batches. That said, the motor isn't a commercial-grade beast. If you regularly work with very stiff whole-grain doughs or need to mix for extended periods, you might notice the unit humming a bit louder as it pushes through the resistance. It won't die on you, but it isn't the kind of motor that can replace a bakery floor mixer. One of the subtle strengths of the SP08 is the control panel. There are just 3 clearly labeled speed buttons and an on-off switch. No digital readouts, no pre-programmed cycles, no confusing menus. For someone who just wants to set the speed and let the mixer do its job, this simplicity is a breath of fresh air. It also means fewer things that can break. The stainless steel bowl and the overall stainless housing give it a clean look and, importantly, an NSF rating. If you're a food service enthusiast who worries about metal leaching or you just like the peace of mind that your equipment meets a recognized safety standard, that's a tangible benefit. The set of attachments that come with the SP08 includes a flat beater, a wire whisk, and a dough hook. That covers the majority of home bakery tasks. I've seen a user who tried the dough hook on a sourdough starter and reported that the hook held its shape after multiple uses, which suggests the material isn't a cheap, brittle plastic. However, the attachments aren't interchangeable with other brands, so if you ever upgrade to a different mixer, you'll need to buy a new set of accessories. Also, there's no splash guard or extra bowl locking mechanism, so you have to be a little careful when you're mixing at high speed with a lot of liquid. Let's break down a couple of real-world